Hello, this is Michael Hartle with the Ruby on Rails tutorial at railstutorial.org, and this is a short installation screencast showing how to install Ruby and Rails to get started with Ruby on Rails web development. I'll be covering the three principal platforms that people use nowadays, Windows, Linux, and Mac OS X. We'll start with Windows, which is very simple, at least from my perspective, because I'm just going to punt over to another great resource. If you're running Windows, I recommend installing Ruby and Rails and other associated software using Rails Installer at railsinstaller.org. And rather than go through these steps, I'm going to defer to the good people at EngineYard who have set up this very convenient Rails installer. It's possible that things will still go wrong. Things often go wrong when installing software, but this will get you started, and then you can do web searches from there if it doesn't work right out of the box. The rest of this installation screencast will focus on Unix-style operating systems, such as Linux and OS X. Before proceeding, if you're on Linux, there are some libraries you might have to install. Let's take a look at the Rails tutorial book. This is the PDF. It's also available for free online. This line you might have to run in Linux, sudo apt-get install, and then a bunch of libraries. If you're on OS X, you might first have to install Xcode. You can install the full Xcode developer tools, but there's a new package. Here it is. There's a command line tools for Xcode. Click on that. So you can again see this at the Rails tutorial website or in the PDF. And I need to log in here with my developer ID. And from this page, you can find the Xcode command line tools. You can install all of Xcode, or you can go down here, command line tools. So these are necessary prerequisites for doing any sort of serious software development on a Macintosh. Once you've done that, you should be ready to install Git, which is a version control system. Let's take a look at it. This is gitscm.com. This is the main Git page. I also recommend taking a look at ProGit. This is a great book. It's available for free online, and it's got a section on installing Git. So between these two sources, you should be able to install Git without too much difficulty. And once you've installed Git, you'll be ready to install Ruby Version Manager. Let's take a look at that. This goes by the short name RVM. So let's install RVM. Copy this line here. There we go. We can just follow the instructions here. Source the bash profile. Let's see if we have any RVM requirements. All right, it looks like on my system I don't have to do anything. So let's go to the next step. Here, the last step here is install Ruby, RVM install 1.9.3, which at the moment of this writing is the latest version of Ruby. All right, so you can see I've already got the latest version of Ruby installed, but on your system it's likely that it will have to download the source code and compile it, which could take quite a bit of time. There are also a lot of things that can go wrong at this step, and I recommend web searches, and you can also take a look at the first chapter of the Ruby on Rails tutorial book, which covers some of the things that can go wrong. We can verify that Ruby is installed by looking at the version number. There we go, it's 1.9.3. And at this point, we're ready to install Rails. The way to do that is with the gem command, gem install Rails, and then I'm going to fix it to a particular version, which in this case is 3.2.3. All right, with the Rails gem installed, I want to create what's called a gem set, which is a self-contained bundle of these Ruby gems, which are the way that Ruby software is usually distributed. So let's type rvm use 1.9.3, which is the Ruby version, and then the @ sign separates this from the name of the gem set. Which is Rails 3 Tutorial 2nd edition, and I want to tell RVM to create a gem set. And I also want to make this the default. I also recommend updating your system to the exact version of Ruby gems used by the tutorial, which in this case is 1.8.21. You can do that by typing this, gem update -r system 1.8.21. Of course, on my system that doesn't do anything, but experience shows that differences in Ruby gem versions can sometimes affect how Rails applications run. And that should be it. Let's see if we can create a new Rails application just to show that everything's working. I have a directory called Rails projects, and I'm going to type Rails new for sample app. Okay, so what happened here is that I actually installed Rails as on the global system, but I actually need to install Rails as part of this gem set. So let's take a look at how to do that. We just want to run gem install Rails again. I'm going to leave this in because this is useful to know. There we go. It's installed all of the necessary gems for a default Rails application. Let's go into the directory. That's right, we need to create it. It's Rails new sample app. Yes, I really am that stupid. So Rails new sample app. Let's create our new. There we go. So it installed Rails, and now it's installing the all the software for our sample application. Great. So let's cd into it. And I'm going to run a server just to show that things are working. Oh, you might get this notification. I'm going to say allow. And let's see what happens if we go to this address. Actually, people almost always say localhost 3000, so let's do that. And there we go. We're writing Ruby on Rails. So this completes the basic installation. Take a look at the advanced setup screencast, though, if you want to learn how to customize your system. And if you're interested in learning how to develop Rails applications in general, take a look at the Ruby on Rails tutorial screencast series at railstutorial.org/screencasts.